Well, Shep309, you saw correct. I can see some people freaking out about the off-ball comment from White, that head coach Stephanie White.
The buzz is real, and the basketball world is in shock. Head coach Stephanie White just dropped a bombshell. She wants Caitlin Clark to play off the ball. Yes, you heard it right. It's like asking LeBron James to hang out in the corner waiting for passes. But there's more to this than meets the eye. White isn't backing down from her wild plan. She believes this move could change everything for the Fever. Imagine the uproar among fans, who are now questioning if White is a genius or if she's about to make the biggest mistake of her career. Last season, Caitlin Clark was a rookie sensation, leading the league in assists and being the heartbeat of the Fever's offense. She handled the ball, made plays, and ran the game. But according to White, this might be part of the problem. Clark's been getting worn out from all that ball handling, and it's time for a change. White has a bold strategy: take the ball out of Clark's hands more often. This isn't just...
But yeah, so Stephanie White has been on this podcast. We're going to be reacting to some of the clips, and this is Stephanie White talking about areas of improvement they're focusing on with Caitlin Clark.
Just for the sake of change, it's about preserving Clark's energy and making her an even better defender. The idea is to challenge her on the defensive end, forcing opponents to deal with her relentless energy on both sides of the court. The plan? Embrace a Connecticut-style offense with lots of off-ball movement, screens, and creating mismatches. This kind of
For us as coaches, it's moving her off the ball a little bit more so she's not getting worn out in game. We're challenging her on the defensive end of the floor as well, being a better defender. As an opponent, you want to attack a good offensive player by making them play on the defensive end, putting them through the ringer. We will be creative as a staff how we utilize her and how we utilize her talents.
Offense brought White success when she coached the Sun. But can it work with Clark? Remember that disastrous game against the Connecticut Sun? Clark was left standing around while Kelsey Mitchell ran the show, leading to a crushing defeat. Fans were furious, wondering what had happened to Clark. Now, White's plan seems to have been a sneak peek into what she's been envisioning all along. Efficiency is the next step for Clark: fewer turnovers, higher field goal percentages, and smarter plays. It's a radical shift, but if it works, it could revolutionize the Fever's game. Can you believe it? Christy Sides put the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands, leaving Caitlin Clark to stand as a spot-up shooter. And at the end of the game, Clark proudly remarked, "Well, at least my turnovers were not high." What kind of logic is that? Of course, if your high-volume point guard doesn't handle the ball as much, turnovers will be down. But here's where things get interesting. Stephanie White is making a bold move, and she thinks this change could make Clark even more dangerous. It may sound backwards, but White has a point.
I think the next step is efficiency, right? Like not so many turnovers, higher field goal percentages. She knows what's coming.
Caitlin, ironically enough, I hate the phrase less turnovers, because if you guys didn't watch the playoffs, Caitlin Clark was played off the ball in game 1 against the Connecticut Sun. She was garbage. She was absolutely...
Playing off the ball might help Clark conserve energy and become more efficient. White insists the focus should be on turnover rates, not just the number of turnovers. While Clark's turnover numbers were historically high due to her high volume of passes, her live ball turnovers significantly decreased towards the end of the year. Not everyone is happy about...
Look, she wasn't good in the first place. The game plan of Christy Sides to put the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands and of Caitlin Clark standing there and being a spot-up shooter was the dumbest thing ever. And at the end of the game, Caitlin Clark goes, "Well, at least my turnovers were not high." And I'm like, are you, like, that's like the dumbest logic in the world, where it's like, yeah, obviously if your high volume point guard has the ball in her hands, less her turnovers are going to be down.
About this shift, but if Clark doesn't expend all her energy bringing the ball up and fighting through double teams, she can focus on finding open spots and knocking down shots. White is betting that this will cut down on Clark's turnovers and boost her scoring, turning her into a scoring machine instead of just a playmaker. But let's be real.
Stephanie White's like, "Oh, we need to focus on getting that turnover number down." It's like, no, you need to focus on getting turnover rate down. The turnover number doesn't matter. Her turnover rate wasn't good, by the way. Her turnover number was historically bad because she had a historically high ball, amount of passes she was given. Amount of time she had the ball in her hand. And towards the end of the year, her live ball turnovers went down very low.
This is a huge gamble. We're talking about completely changing the game of a player who just led the league in assists. It's like asking LeBron to be a spot-up shooter or telling Steph Curry to stop shooting threes. It goes against everything we think we know about using a star player, and then there's the fan reaction to consider. If Clark's numbers drop, people will be calling for White's head. It's a high-risk, high-reward move that could make or break the Fever's season. There's some precedent for it, though. Look at players like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. They've had success playing off the ball, making their teams even more dangerous. But those guys play in the NBA with different rules and dynamics. Can the same strategy work in the WNBA? That's the million-dollar question. White is betting her reputation and maybe her job on this plan. She's not just battling opposing teams, she's fighting fan expectations, past failures, and the shadows of coaches who couldn't make it work. She's got to prove that her plan isn't just crazy talk. Unlocking the Fever's potential is no small task, but Stephanie White has a plan to cut down on those turnover numbers. Now, you might...
And then you also have to take into account dead ball turnovers and which type of turnovers are more costly. Like, obviously, people are talking about turnovers, but like, a turnover that is you trying to throw a pass that if it had gone through as a guaranteed bucket leading to a half-court offense for them is very different than getting stripped at the halfway line for an open layup.
Might be wondering why mess with success? Caitlin Clark was a superstar last year, but hold on to your seats because her rookie season was far from smooth sailing. It wasn't all highlight reels and standing ovations, it was more like a boxing match with Clark taking hits left and right.
I hate the but turnovers number because there is context to turnovers. That's not saying Caitlin Clark didn't turn the ball over a bit too much, especially early in the year, but ironically, the turnover numbers did not tell the full story about her turnovers. There were games where she committed 9 turnovers, where 7 of them were quote-unquote good turnovers, 2 of them were bad, and there was a game where she committed 5 turnovers and gave up 5 freaking buckets from the 5 turnovers.
Right. In the WNBA, great players always make a jump from year 1 to year 2, getting stronger and harder to knock around. We've seen it with Caitlin Clark too. Defenders were all over her every single game, not just playing defense but trying to shut her down completely. Imagine Clark, ball in hand, trying to make a play and getting hit, pushed, and knocked down like a pinball, while
continuing to get asked about Caitlin Clark and Indiana, and I'm like, guys, like, just relax. Like, they're gonna figure it out. They've got to learn how to play together. You know, she's thrown into this league right away, and she's gonna figure it out, and she did. She did, and she's going to see all kinds of coverages. She's going to see all kinds of matchups.
Clark wasn't weak in college, she struggled to assert herself physically in the WNBA. Handling the ball almost every possession added immense pressure, and making the right decision every time isn't easy, especially for a rookie. Facing tough matchups from the start, Clark's physical limits were apparent, but Clark is tough, right? Sure.
And thankfully she's explaining, it's like, okay, what we do in certain situations, what we do from different looks, which obviously will cut down on the turnover number, and it will also cut down on the bad turnovers.
But even superstars have their limits. Stephanie White saw those limits and knew something had to change. White revealed, she figured that out right away. I need to get stronger, I can't get knocked around as much. Clark's self-awareness led her to focus on strength and low center of gravity, bulking up in the off-season. So, can Clark
You have seen this in the WNBA. One of the things that always happens with great players, from year 1 to year 2, they always make a jump. And usually when it comes to the W, like, they get stronger. And like, they're just like, you cannot knock them around anymore.
And yeah, obviously we've seen with Caitlin Clark how much bigger Caitlin Clark has gotten physically over the last while.
Adapt to this new role? Will it take away what makes her special? White's plan isn't just about strategy, it's about protecting Clark and extending her career. It's a high-risk, high-reward move that could make or break the Fever season. White's other trick is even more intriguing. Caitlin Clark, the assist queen, playing off the ball. Fans are divided, some believe it.
So Caitlin Clark in college was not the strongest player in the world. Like, she was somebody that wasn't weak by any means, but we saw when it came to the WNBA that she wasn't able to really assert herself physically.
Could ruin Clark's game, while others think it could turn her from star to legend. Playing off the ball might open up new scoring opportunities, making Clark even more dangerous. Stephanie White knows what she's doing. She's betting on Clark's shooting skills and hoping this change will make her harder to defend. Imagine Clark coming off screens, catching, and shooting without having to create everything herself.
In fairness, her first game matchup was a tough one because her first matchup was against Dijonais. Second matchup was against Benijah Laney Hamilton. Third matchup against Benijah Laney again. Fourth matchup against Dijonais again. So we're looking at the team that has their first 4 games against the freaking Sun and someone for the toughest defenders. And from that point on, it did seem like she was basically that she wasn't physically up to being a top guard.
It's either the most brilliant move in years or a disaster waiting to happen. Stephanie White has a vision, and she isn't afraid to share it. Imagine Caitlin Clark coming off screens, catching and shooting without having to create everything herself. White believes this move could turn Clark into an unstoppable scoring machine. When White says playing off the ball a little more, it doesn't mean they're taking the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands in.
Yes, she is stronger, first and foremost. And again, she's got a lot of self-awareness. And, she figured that out, right away. Like, I need to get stronger. I can't get knocked around as much. And so she's done a great job of getting in the weight room and really focusing on her areas that she needs to focus on in terms of strength, in terms of, low center of gravity, time under tension, like all of those things.
Entirely. That would be ridiculous. Caitlin Clark is the engine of this team. She will still have the ball in her hands for the majority of the game, making decisions and acting as an extension of the coach. However, taking her off the ball occasionally is a smart move. Let's talk about defense for a second. You might be wondering what playing off the ball has to do with defense. Well, it has a lot to do with it. White points out,
anyone who watched the off-season workout footage of Caitlin Clark probably noticed the same thing. She looked like she bulked up a little bit. She looked like she got a little bit stronger.
That handling the ball 94 feet up the court every game can exhaust Clark. By not having her handle the ball all game, Clark will have more energy to lock down opponents on the other end of the court. It's like giving a superhero a chance to recharge between fights. You have to give the defense different looks. Running the same...
Yeah, so she's going to have that in her arsenal. And it's going to make her harder to defend. It's going to make her way, way harder to defend. Because, if you can't bully her, it means that the Dijonais hand check through three-quarter court isn't going to be allowed.
Same play every single time allows them to prepare. Sure, you can run pick and roll the entire game or give Caitlin Clark the ball and say go, but this will only work to a degree. Against better teams and throughout a long season, you'll need versatility, and you don't want to run Clark into the ground. Now, you might be wondering about Clark's playmaking. Isn't that what made her special? It's like asking a magician to perform without their wand. Critics worry.
Go for it here. First of all, let me begin by saying, who coached against Caitlin Clark last year? Not only in her first WNBA game, but in the playoffs. Was it Stephanie White? True or false, the Connecticut Sun did a good job against Caitlin Clark? I would say true.
That this move might dim Clark's unique spark. After all, her ability to see the court and thread impossible passes is what made her stand out in the first place. Playing her off the ball more can give her easier buckets and a chance to rest. She can catch and shoot, get wide open threes, move and relocate, catching the defense off guard. This isn't just about Clark, it's about the whole team. White is thinking big picture, asking how do you guard 5 players on the floor that can shoot the ball? This strategy worked for her with the Connecticut Sun, but can it work for the Fever? That depends on whether the rest of the team can step.
Right? So you are talking about the coach who studied, game planned, and went against Caitlin Clark. Do you think she knows what she's talking about or not?
Step up and create opportunities when Clark's off the ball. This move could unlock a whole new level of Clark's game or completely backfire. It's like White's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, or maybe she's just moving pieces around randomly and hoping for the best. Only time will tell. Having Clark handle the ball every single possession and playing nearly every minute of every game is a fool's errand.
Also, when she says play off the ball a little bit more, that doesn't mean they're taking the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands. Let's not be ridiculous here. Caitlin Clark is the engine of this team. She will have the ball in her hands the majority of the game. She will be the decision maker on the court and an extension of the coach. But taking her off the ball a little bit more is wise.
And in the long run, because it will wear her down. Other teams will want to attack her on defense, and that's going to wear her down too. Are you ready for this? Stephanie White is taking a massive gamble with the Fever, and she's excited about it. Can you believe that? White believes they can be title contenders, but it's not going to happen overnight. She's talking about variety, giving different looks, and finding the right rotations. This isn't just about Clark, it's about the whole team coming together.
Here's the thing. You have to give the defense different looks. You give them the same one every single time, they're going to know what to prepare for. You can't just run pick and roll the entire game. You can't just give Caitlin Clark the ball and say go the entire game. I mean, you can. It'll work to a degree. But when you play the better teams, And when you go through a long season, you're going to want some versatility. And you're going to want to not to run her into the ground.
The buzz is real, and the basketball world is in shock. Head coach Stephanie White just dropped a bombshell. She wants Caitlin Clark to play off the ball. Yes, you heard it right. It's like asking LeBron James to hang out in the corner waiting for passes. But there's more to this than meets the eye. White isn't backing down from her wild plan. She believes this move could change everything for the Fever. Imagine the uproar among fans, who are now questioning if White is a genius.
Aspect of it. Not only does playing her off the ball more give her a chance to get some easier buckets, but it also gives her a chance to get a rest. Because you play her off the ball, she might be able to catch and shoot, get a wide open three. She might be able to move, relocate, and get a wide open shot. Or get the ball when the defense isn't zoned in on her, because she's coming off the action, gets it, they're not prepared, she goes.
Or if she's about to make the biggest mistake of her career. Last season, Caitlin Clark was a rookie sensation, leading the league in assists and being the heartbeat of the Fever's offense. She handled the ball, made plays, and ran the game. But according to White, this might be part of the problem. Clark's been getting worn out from all that ball handling, and it's time for a change. White has a bold strategy. Take the...
So that's all Stephanie White is talking about, a little versatility in the offense. Not just giving you the same thing every single time down the court. She also talked about how anybody can take the ball and go. That's what you want. You want Kelsey Mitchell to be able to go, I'm out. You want, Flash to be able to say, I'm out. Or Bonner, same thing. Like, all these players are capable of
ball
doing
out of
that.
Clark's hands more often. This isn't just for the sake of change, it's about preserving Clark's energy and making her an even better defender. The idea is to challenge her on the defensive end, forcing opponents to deal with her relentless energy on both sides of the court.
To have Clark have the ball every single possession, playing nearly every minute of every game, is a fool's errand in the long run, because it will wear her down. And, as she said there, the other teams are going to want to attack her on defense. You got to be prepared for that, because that's going to wear her down.
The plan? Embrace a Connecticut-style offense with lots of off-ball movement, screens, and creating mismatches. This kind of offense brought White success when she coached the Sun. But can it work with Clark? Remember that disastrous game against the Connecticut Sun? Clark was left.
So all she's talking about is a little bit of variety, a little bit of a different look. The main course is Caitlin Clark on the ball, but maybe you want a side dish, maybe you'd like a garnish, perhaps a dessert, some of that stuff, and that's all. You're talking about a coach who literally went against her, literally did the best job of anybody at stopping her, or containing her, I guess is a better word than stop.
Standing around while Kelsey Mitchell ran the show, leading to a crushing defeat. Fans were furious, wondering what had happened to Clark. Now, White's plan seems to have been a sneak peek into what she's been envisioning all along. Efficiency is the next step for Clark, fewer turnovers, higher field goal percentages, and smarter plays. It's a radical shift, but if it works, it could revolutionize the Fever's game. Is White crazy or a genius? We're about to find out. The Fever's first game isn't just a game anymore, it's a statement. It's White's vision versus the doubters, Clark's talent versus a new system. This is the kind of stuff that makes basketball history. Buckle up, folks, the Fever are about to bring the heat, and we're all front row for the show.